Hello everyone, I'm Matthew Woods, and my focus for the rest of this course will be on national parks land reform. Now, I understand that might be quite a loaded, dense statement, and it will need further explanation. So what do I mean by national park land reform? Well, in this context, I'm mainly referring to the implementation of an effective buffer zone surrounding the national parks. So for some context, historically, national parks have been located in some of the most remote areas of the country. But thanks to rapid population growth and further exhausted resources, we've had to go to further lengths to acquire these resources and to expand and to make living space for people. So in recent years, we've seen an expansion of industry encroaching on the park's borders. Now, you might ask, why does it matter if industry is outside the park but not actually in the park? Well, a lot of what is in the park actually depends on what happens directly outside of the park. And by this, I mean that a lot of animals depend on areas outside the park because obviously animals don't recognize arbitrary borders like, okay, this is Yosemite National Park, but this is the part outside of the park. And also with that, a lot of streams and rivers start, most of streams and rivers start before the national park and they end after the national park. So what we do outside of the national parks affects these. But the main part that I want to focus on is the migratory animals part and the roaming animals part. So if disruption becomes too great for any of these species, they may go extinct. And if the species just so happens to be a keystone species, well, then we might see complete ecological collapse. A keystone species is a species that is integral to the functioning of certain ecological roles in the environment. And if we see a disappearance of a keystone species, then we will see ecological collapse because that role is not fulfilled and a domino effect is started. And once those processes start to fall, we might lose the whole park. And if we lose the whole park, we lose a beloved part of our nation's history and our nation's culture. So this is an issue, I believe, that can be solved with civic engagement. And this is because the national parks are run by a government agency. And because they are run by a government agency, we can vote in legislators that will take action to implement an effective border system for these national parks. Not only that, but we also have other methods of establishing effective buffer zones, and that would be to support organizations like the National Parks Conservation Association. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful rest of your day.